Hey YouTube, this is Rescue Amusement Park Fan 62. If you saw my last video, at the end of it, I said I'd do a video about if some of the Six Flags parks were to break off from the Six Flags brand. Now, please note this: nothing has been confirmed or denied. This is purely speculation by me. And this is if they would break off, would they go to a different company or what? So let's get started. First, I'm going to start with Six Flags St. Louis. Now, here is the thing. Certain companies in this mix does not seem plausible. For example, Cedar Fair. Because Cedar Fair Park is only a few hours down the road, so it doesn't make sense to have a Cedar Fair Park like that so close together with another one. I don't see SeaWorld, unfortunately, because most of the time they're in big touristy areas like Florida and California. Now, I don't see like the people who own Alton Towers and all them in England just because of the fact that I just don't know how they would run something like that. So, two options come to mind here. Honestly, it would be good as a single park by itself. Um, Now, while they would probably still have to do a lot of the Six Flags style of ways, such as like sponsorships and all that, that is something they can get around. But as far as selling off, I would say stay on its own. Next is the Great Escape. Um, this is a park Six Flags rarely invest in, unfortunately. Um, it's also in New York as well. So, with that, honestly, depending on certain ordeals, it can go one of two ways, and one of them's not that good. Honestly, it can either be as it can run as independent, so something like, some of the independent parks, or unfortunately shut down. It's just one of those types of parks they rarely invest in. The last new attraction that they added was I cannot think of what it's called off the top of my head, but it's the same exact thing as Catwoman's Whip at Six Flags St. Louis. In fact, just opened last year. So, next one is Darien Lake. Now, this park has had an interesting history because it was owned by Six Flags, and then Six Flags basically got out of the agreement that they had with it, so it was independent for a while. And then I know Herschend took over for a while, and then it went back to Six Flags again. So the thing about this park is this: like other parks, it does not get a lot of investment, and the bad part about this is where Six Flags runs the day-to-day operations of the park, they don't own the land. So I'm not entirely sure how it works with this park in particular when it comes to like adding new attractions and stuff like that. Unfortunately, unless something changes, I can still see Six Flags owning it, unless they pay whatever it is to get out of that agreement. So, um, now if they were to get out of the agreement again for financial reasons, I can see either Herschend taking over again. I can see possibly Cedar Fair because, but the issue you have with Cedar Fair in particular with this is Cedar Fair likes to deal with parks in warmer climates. The bad part is with it being in New York, it gets extremely cold during the winter months. Now, it's possible but I'm gonna say Cedar Fair as of now. Next is La Ronde. Now, this park is an interesting one in particular because while it's not called Six Flags La Ronde, it's just called La Ronde. Um, while Six Flags runs the day-to-day operations of the park, there's hardly any of the Six Flags branding when it comes to a lot of the things in the park. So honestly, this would be good just as a individual park by itself. Um, Now the next one is the one in Oklahoma, Frontier City. This park has a similar track record to Darien Lake, and that is it was owned by Six Flags. Six Flags got out of the agreement. It was individually owned, I believe, for a while, and then Six Flags bought it again. And since Six Flags has owned it, they really haven't done much to it. So, what does this mean? Honestly, this could mean anything. But if they were to get out of it, I can honestly see it being in either an individual park or another company potentially taking it over. One company that comes to mind is Cedar Fair because it is close enough to the Texas parks to give them some competition, but not close enough to other parks to give them competition. And if Cedar Fair would put the investment into it, it could become a possible park for parks like Six Flags over Georgia. I'm not over Georgia, over Texas, and potentially even the Universal park that's going in outside of Dallas. Um, Now, the thing about the Universal Park too in this situation is this is going to be Universal style branding and theming, but it's going to be a kids section. Now, not much has come out about it, so we have to wait and see. Now, now we go to the West Coast, shall we? The other one, unfortunately, in this demise is California's Great America. Or, well, yeah. This is a Cedar Fair Park, but the biggest problem about it is that it is it has about I think 11 years left or 9 years, depending on certain things. Um, so here's some of the things that could happen with this park in particular. One, um, the city does something to stop the sale, and it stays a park, Six Flags Park. Two, um, the sale goes through completely. It in 2023 or 2025 or four, it gets knocked down. Now, here is the major thing about it. Cedar Fair, with that park in particular, had a plan for it, but pre the pandemic, but during the pandemic, it stopped it all completely. So, unfortunately, I think a lot of the plans that they had for it, they scrapped or did something else with it. So, it's going to be an interesting ordeal. Um, and I just don't know with this park in particular what is going to happen because it shares a parking lot with the San Francisco 49ers. Um, so, unfortunately, on Sundays, Great America has to close because of the game when they have home games. So, and honestly, this is a park where its future nobody really knows at this point. So, um, and the bad part about it too is once Great America closes, um, Discovery Kingdom nearby basically has no competition because there's not that many parks in Northern California. Um, so it's going to be an interesting ordeal and what's going to happen.